Good morning. Welcome to British Skydiving's Expo weekend. Hey. So, if you're joining today in the auditorium or if you're one of our online participants, welcome to the East Midlands Conference Centre and British Skydiving's AGM and Expo. First of all, I want to start with a really big thank you to our sponsors of the Expo, and their support makes an incredible difference to the event that you experience when you're here for this weekend. And I also want to thank you, the wonderful team. It would not happen without the team that puts all this together. We're really lucky to have them. This year, that's seen Megan and Stacey from the operations team really step up to take the lead on this event. So thank you both to Stacey and Megan for making this event happen. And I think we need to say a really big thank you to Adrian Bond for all his hard work that he's put into this event year on year. And I know we've got a lot of people here who have been coming to this event for absolutely years. And will know that Adrian is the person that takes this slot and usually has a few jokes and a sparkly jacket. And we really miss him. He has been the life and soul of that part of the proceedings today. And he's left really big shoes to fill. And it's going to take some time to do that. So you'll be pleased to know you've only got me in this slot as a temporary measure. Next year, we'll see what happens. We've got various changes going on, so it's a case of wait and see. So Adrian's actually joining us via the live streaming. The cameras are there and at the back there. Please give Adrian a wave and a round of applause for all he's given us. Okay, one of those big changes that a lot of you will have noticed is that it's been a real two-day event this year. It's moved from having an industry day on the Friday, open to people who work in the sport, to offering a whole range of seminars across both days and having the exhibition hall open for both days. Can I have a show of hands? Just a wave if you were here yesterday as well. Excellent. I think we've been really pleased to see the take-up on that. It's been absolutely brilliant, but it's one of those things that needs to keep growing. You know, we're not expecting it to be all bells and whistles for the first iteration. So can I have a show of hands for anybody who made it to 4 or more seminars yesterday? That's impressive. I didn't manage to make it to a single one, so I'm pleased other people did. Building out the Expo event in this way is really quite ambitious. So there are a few teething issues, but we hope you're still having a great Expo experience, and that will carry on for the rest of the event. So what does the event hold today? It is the usual format, more or less, apart from the 2 days. The plan for today is pretty much the standard plan. We've got the AGM up next, followed by the presentations of medals, trophies, awards and certificates. And the hall is full of amazing exhibitors, an opportunity for some skydiver shopping for some of you, or some learning. And we've also got fantastic speakers and seminars bringing us an array of information today. You can scan here for the schedule, or I've got a bigger slide in a minute if you're struggling with it. And at the end of this session, we've got the ever legendary prize draw. So if you didn't manage to scan from the last one, have a quick scan for the seminar schedule, and then you've got it on you for the day. You have to be quick, though. People who know me know I do like a bit of rigorous timekeeping. So also thanking our head of safeguarding and compliance, who is going to step into Adrian's rather large shoes for the prize draw. It's part of this expo tradition. So Paul Smith has told me that there will be lots of audience participation and the chance to take a few risks. I don't know if that's appropriate for our safeguarding and compliance officer, but I'll leave that with him. And to upgrade your prize if you win. And there'll be some great prizes from these sponsors and a range of others. That's at 5 o'clock. Make sure you're back here at 5 o'clock. And I've been told to make sure you bring your wristbands with you, because that's how you will be identified as a British Skydiving member to be eligible for a prize. So make sure you keep hold of them. And then to finish this day off, we've got the usual gala dinner and awards from 5:30, 7:30. And that dinner this year will finish with the awarding of our headline awards, our big trophies and medals. And so if you're not at the gala dinner, we appreciate not everyone will be there. You can expect to be hearing announcements about 9 o'clock to call you back into the dinner space. And there will be plenty of room in there for everybody. So it would be great if everybody could come back in and really celebrate those sort of key awards within the sport. And then we've got Winging It, which I know everyone is excited about, followed by a DJ, as usual, into the early hours. So it should be a really good day. And that starts with the slightly more tedious bit, the AGM. So I'm going to move us swiftly on to the AGM. Once I've set the timer. And as you probably all know, that is actually led by me. This is the spot at which I should be on the stage as chair of the association. And so I welcome you all formally to this part of the proceedings today, to British Skydiving's 2025 annual general meeting. This meeting follows the usual agenda. And thank you all for being here and joining us for it. It's actually a really important part of our business as an association, is to have this AGM available to you as our members. So item 2 on our agenda is apologies. We do have a few apologies for people who are not attending, which have all been recorded by the board secretary, Lisa. The AGM, as serial attenders will know, brings some matters to the table for our full members to have a vote on. And this year we actually have 5 voting matters for you. They're all marked with asterisks on the agenda here so that you can kind of keep track of them. When we come to these voting matters, we'll use our usual method, which is a show of hands. But there's also an exception here, because we do actually have what's called a special resolution on the agenda, and that's when sort of the more important, the more significant matters come to the members for a vote. And I will explain to you how to cast your vote on that matter when we get to it. But in the meantime, make sure you keep hold of that little slip of paper and pencil that you were given when you came in. We also have a system in place for proxy voting. So for people who aren't here with us today, we have proxy votes already recorded, again by Lisa, the board secretary. And when we come to voting, just a couple of sort of housekeeping items really. It is a requirement that any member who is voting, who has any kind of personal or financial or material interest in the topic being voted on needs to declare that and to abstain from voting. And that's really important. And any such conflict of interest stays in place for 3 years. It's a bit of an anomaly with that, which I'm sure most of you are aware of, that when we come to item 9, voting on the membership fees for the year, actually all of the people eligible to vote have got a conflict of interest there, because we all benefit or lose depending on what it costs us to be a member of the association. So as chair, I am happy to agree that everybody with that particular conflict of interest can vote on this item. And just one more thing on this. I know sometimes people feel it's a bit awkward to cast your vote as abstaining, so we always ask for a for and against and a show of hands for anybody who's stepping out of the vote for whatever reason. And it might be that you don't feel you've got enough information on the topic, or you just whatever reason you don't want to vote. It's actually really important that we have a show of hands for that, so that we can see the proportion of who is voting for on a particular topic in relation to the amount of people that are eligible to vote in the audience. So I did warn you, this was the slightly duller bit of the proceedings for today. I'm going to move us straight on to item 4, which is this special resolution. And this has to precede any other item on our agenda, which is why we're jumping straight into this. It's a special resolution because the board is requesting some changes to the Articles of Association, and they're our formal governing documents. They're what you can hold us to account on. They're what gives you that sense of exactly what the association is, how it's formed, what it does, all of that stuff. So if we want to change any aspects of that, we need to come to you. So the pack you received before this AGM set out the information on that, documented all the changes, gave you the new draft and the old copy. So I'm hoping that people feel that they're informed on this and are able to make a vote. There are some smaller changes that we're proposing. Just for a very quick summary, some smaller changes we're proposing, such as changing the description from council to board of directors, which is just a better description of what we actually are and what the association has in place in terms of governance. I think probably the biggest change that members should be aware of when they're voting on this is that we are asking for a change to the number of independent non-executive directors and the non-executive directors. So that is a change in the relationship between the people who are not necessarily within skydiving and the people who absolutely are within skydiving sitting on the board. And this is to keep us in line with good governance expectations across NGBs like ours, but it is also, and I think really important to sort of have an awareness of, it is a way to make sure that we have the right skills and the right experience around the board table. We have fantastic skydivers who give so much as volunteers to the association. As far as sporting NGBs go, we've got such a passionate, committed membership. It's amazing. But it doesn't mean that we get the right people with the right skills to work at board level and make the decisions that are required coming onto the board. But having independence, we're going through a process of selection and recruitment in that way, means that we can make sure we have a backbone of the fundamental skills. So you've got lots of information on it in the pack. That is my very quick sort of highlights. I am a rigorous timekeeper, but I would like to make space here for just 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Anna.
When that pack was sent out and when it was made, when members were made aware that we'd be expected to vote on it, because I certainly, and I think at least the people sitting near me, weren't aware that that was part of the...
Okay. Thanks, Anna. That's a great question. I know we haven't passed the mic to Anna, so just to repeat for everybody to hear that, Anna's question was, when was the pack sent out to members to know that you had the vote on this item and to have that information? For our AGM, actually for all of our meetings, there are stipulations in those articles of association on the time frame for sending that information out and how that information is sent out. And I believe it is 21 days in advance. Thank you, Rob, for the nod. And that it was sent out to all members by email for the emails they have on our database. Take you as my second question.
Thank you. I guess ask for a couple of words on why do we want, I mean, the people in skydiving, that seems a huge breadth of experience. Why do we need people from outside, and what are the cost implications?
Great question. Okay, so what are the cost implications of this change? And why do we need people from outside of skydiving when we have so much expertise within skydiving? I'll take them in that order. Cost implications. I love answering this one. Absolutely none, apart from, well, we pay, the association pays expenses for directors, whether they're non-executive or independent non-executive directors. So that will be the same cost. They're all voluntary roles. None of the directors is paid. They are purely voluntary roles, and the claiming of expenses is all aligned with the HMRC stipulations. So that is going to be the same. In terms of why we need independence, I think that's really interesting. And the group that has worked on this particular resolution, this particular topic, spent a lot of time looking at this. And the nature of the sport, the nature of what is required, the nature of the kind of decisions that the board are making and what is expected of the board are all changing, and they're changing at an ever-increasing pace now. So that means that we need to keep up with that. Now we recognise that we do need a different level of legal expertise around the board table. The association uses legal advisors, so we're not reliant on the directors to make those decisions, but we need to know we're asking the right questions. We need to, the director's role, whether it's independent or from within skydiving, our role is to ask the critical questions and to have that oversight that everything is being done properly. And so we need that expertise on the board. And yes, we could get that from the membership. And the strict definition of an independent doesn't exclude them from coming from the membership. But they have to have not had any role on the board or with the association, basically. So we're not excluding that. But when, I don't know how many of you are aware, but when we're running the recruitment campaigns and we're asking people for nominations, we are not getting enough members stepping forward to fill the seats. So as it stands, it's not that we are squeezing members out. We are just looking at the resources we've got and trying to make the best decisions for future-proofing the association. We could possibly get the skills we want from the membership, but we're not at the moment. That's not working. Also, a passionate membership that is committed to skydiving to the extent that they are going to commit the time that it takes to be a director. We're not getting the best attendance. And if we don't get the best attendance, if we get directors dropping out partway through a term, that means we can't conduct our business effectively. So there's a lot of stuff wrapped up in the answer to that question of why independence rather than non-executive directors. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. There is a lot more on this that has been done. You know, these conversations have been going on with the working group that's been looking at it over the last year, sort of trying to make the best decision, and we looked at all different configurations, and we looked across at what do other associations do and tried to find the best model for British skydiving. I did say 1 or 2 questions, but I can see another hand has gone up. I don't want to spend too much time because I know this has all been in the pack, but I'll come to this question.
It may help to fulfil everyone's questions here. How would you plan on seeking the right candidate for an independent position? And how would you plan on appointing them? Is it going to be election like we've done previously, or is it going to be via the board vote? Because that will allow everyone here to understand how we're getting better candidates.
Okay, that's a good question. So we already have that process in place, and we've already been using it. I think 2016, the association started having independent non-executive directors, and that process for recruiting them has been refined across those years. And now, over the last year, in looking at this bigger issue of how do we recruit the right skills and experience and expertise for the board to make it work as best as it can for the association, we have tightened up that process. So we've built out the recruitment packs that you might have seen that talk about the roles when we're advertising for something. We, for the INEDs, the process we have in place at the moment is that we have a nominations committee, and they decide who's going to be on the interview panel. They decide the specific skills that are going to be sought, and then that is put to the board, and the board kind of signs that off. That runs. The interviews will take place, and then the nominations committee will make a recommendation to the board, and the board will decide whether that recommendation can go forward. And then one of our, I think it's item 11, is for an INED that has to come to you. So that is something that the members actually have the ultimate say on. And I think it's item 11. I will be asking you to vote on our new INED that's joining us this year. So that's a process that has actually been refined over many years now. Okay, I can see 2 questions. Okay, I'll take the question, Steve. Okay, we'll go with Tim and then we'll come to Steve.
So 2 things. One, the email, which I think has the link to this, that link sends me to a 404 page not found. So I was unable to actually read what the new Articles of Association are. 2, how does this new committee work with the special interest boards, such as comps and like the development boards? Because members of council then sit on these subcommittees, and they actually have like a good vested interest because they're actually skydivers. They know kind of how to do comps or how progression works within these areas. If you replace council with, and now I'm not against just replacing council with non-skydivers. We've got enough skydivers around. But how does then this new board of effectively non-skydivers operate on these special interest committees?
It's not a new board. It's the same board. It is just changing from having 10 non-executive directors and 2 independent non-executive directors to having 8 non-executive directors and 4 independent non-executive directors. So it is the same board, and it will operate in the same way, and the committees will still operate in the same way. We appreciate that one of the issues to think about there is it is directors on the board who then chair those various committees and make up those various committees. So I've got a really good example here. We've got Richard, who's sitting at the end of the table here, who is actually one of our independent non-executive directors. He comes with such a wealth of expertise in finance. He is stepping in as our finance expert INED, and he is taking up the role of chairing the finance committee. So actually, with being more specific about the INEDs and their roles, we can make those committees more effective. So it's not a change to the board per se, it's just a refining of how it works and who it's populated. Okay, I'm going to come to Steve quickly. and then want to move on with this.
Okay, you already know my
I
views.
do.
I think we're not being misled, but what you said at the start was the reason we're doing this is for good governance. And I understand the good governance, but not at losing. We shouldn't be bringing in independence when and if we can get experienced skydivers to be part of these boards. Over the last 3 years, 4 years, our subcommittees don't get quorums. The results of meetings are done at a later date, either by phone calls or emails, and that's just not, by reducing this number, we can't go back. We're not going to change the articles every other year, are we? So I think this is such an important thing that we oppose this, because we need experienced skydivers. If you have a committee, with all respect to independence, who know nothing about skydiving, they can only be led. They can literally only be led. So if you've got 4 people, where are they going to get their advice from? And it's just going to be such an easily led. So the existing NEDs and yourself are going to have so much power that I think we've got to be really, really careful about letting this happen. And just as a really quick secondary thing, I think the wording is much too loose on the nominations committee, because it says any international nominations, and I just think that's too loose. It needs to say what you are going to nominate and put forward.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, I'm going to come back to that very quickly, but very quickly, just to make time for one last question. So, Steve, yes, they are really relevant points, and that balance of expertise and making sure that all voices play an important role there is actually a really difficult thing to get right. And if you look across NGBs, they use all sorts of different strategies. The board is very confident in putting this forward, that this is the best route forward for this association, for what it needs now and going forward. That it will give us the right balance of expertise from the detail within the sport, and in terms of being able to make decisions effectively at board level. It isn't the role of the board to get involved in all the nitty-gritty of decision making. That's what the committees do. So we have STC, which I'll come on to talk about under another item. We have STC, we have the competitions committee, which yes, has really struggled this year and over the last few years, because it's had a change in chairs, because it's a really big commitment for any skydiver to step up and run EPC or MDC, those committees. So this isn't about decision making at that the more granular level. This is about the boards. The board just has oversight and looks at the decisions that the committees have made to be confident that good process has been followed. That if this association gets held to account on something, and we are in a landscape where legislation is ever increasing. It's not the same as in 2016 when this was set up. It's not the same as when this association was set up. We need to keep pace with that changing landscape of accountability for an NGB. And we have to make sure that the board is empowered to have a good understanding of good process of how decision making should work and to keep that oversight. So it's really not about changing the way that decisions are made at that granular level. I'm going to come one more question. I've said that a few times.
Okay, thank you, Mary. My concern is with the construction of the nominations committee. Under 1910, it's only 4 people, and that's yourself, Mary, the CEO, 1 independent, and then 1 other who can be appointed by those 3 at random. this means that apart from yourself, there are no other elected members on the nominations committee, and the board has to only consider recommendations from the nominations committee. So I do think that that is a mistake in 1910, because it is too tight and too cliquey and likely to be obstructive in terms of fair and proportionate consideration of nominations. Thank you.
I'm going to come back to that question. Again, these are really excellent questions that have been raised all the way through this process, actually. So that configuration of the nominations committee is something that has been in the Articles of Association, that it will be those 4 people since at least 2016. So that configuration of the nominations committee being 4 people isn't something we're actually changing. That's the way it's been working. What we are changing there is the remit of the nominations committee. At the moment, they can only go through that process for independent non-executive directors. It's a good process. We want them to be able to go through it for our delegates to the ISC, for example. The process, just to respond to that question, those 4 people are nominated in there, but if I take the recent recruitment for our INED that I'm going to ask you to vote on later today, that ran with those 4 people, we have those 4 people on the nominations committee. Those 4 people made up an interview panel of 3 members for the nominations committee, and I think it was 2 members from the board as well. So it expanded that to bring in the right expertise. We wanted an INED who brings expertise in governance, so we made sure we had a governance expert from the board on that interview panel. And we had a selection panel for the applications that had, I think, 6 members, and then we had an interview panel as well, bringing that expertise in. So I think the concerns you're voicing there are things that we're actually already navigating with the process that has been in place from 2016. But they are, you know, they're good concerns, and they were the conversations we had with this as well. We said, do we need to change that while we're changing the Articles of Association? But that makeup of 4 key people. And the nominations committee doesn't make a decision on anything. The nominations committee makes recommendations to the board, and the board then makes the decision. Or in the case of our INEDs, you, the members, make the decision. I think in a way, for me, when I look at this, it sort of comes down to that trust in the board to be able to make the right decisions on your behalf. And part of that is we need to make sure we've got the right level of expertise around the board table. And it's not necessarily about insight into skydiving. It's about being able to operate at board level, about being able to have a critical position on something and articulate that in a really effective way in the board environment. I'm going to close questions there, but I'm going to ask you to vote. Because it's a special resolution, we want a properly recorded vote. So you've each been given a slip of paper when you've come in, which asks you to record whether you're for, against, or abstaining on this vote. If you could fill this out, there
no one can access online supporting document 4.4, so we're not exactly clear what we're exactly voting for in writing. Are you able to put it on the screen what we're exactly asking to be voting on?
Can I have quiet for a minute, because I've just got one more question here, which I think is relevant for everyone to have an answer to.
No one is able to get on access online supporting document 4.4. It is not available online right now. So no one, I get the impression that people in this audience are not sure on exact wording of what we are being asked to vote on. Are you able to put on what we've been asked to vote on the big screen, please?
We don't have that in our slide pack on the big screen. I am surprised that if nobody has been able to access this,
Can I clarify? Can I
in the
clarify from a
21
member's point of
days,
view? Sorry.
that it is being raised now. Didn't even see where. I'm going to ask for a show of hands who has been able to access this. Not now. Who has been able to access this in the last 21 days? Okay. There is a reason why we're having a paper vote. We did think about running an electronic vote. A key part of that was, when we get everyone going on in line in here, technology fails. I am surprised that people have left consulting really important paperwork right up until sitting here. We'll move to a vote.
Mary, can I clarify from a member's point of view what I think has happened? We got an email 3 weeks ago about proxy voting. So you could go on the website and see the details, and you could see all the documents on there.
Yes.
That proxy voting closed 2 days ago, 10 o'clock on Thursday.
Yes.
Like a lot of people, I thought, oh, I'm going to the expo. I probably ought to look at the documents. I happened to look at 20 to 10 on Thursday, and the documents were there. Unfortunately, when the voting closes, the documents also disappeared.
Thank you.
They're not on the Skydiving website. I know it's under change at the moment, but it would have been good if the documents were available on the Skydiving website.
Yes.
Also, there were reminder emails went out in previous years telling people about it nearer the time, but there was only the one email 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate there was only one email. So you've got your options on here. We've already had proxy votes in. If you feel the vote can't go ahead, you can vote against. You have that option here. We need to record the vote on this. It's a special resolution, so we can't take it to a show of hands here. So the way to do that would be to vote against, that you don't want it passed now, because if that's what you're feeling, and then those documents can be circulated again. We do already have some proxy votes in, so I've been confident that that part of the system has been working. Thank you very much for that bit of insight. So I will leave it with members. I'm hearing what you're saying, and if it is voted against, then that will put us in the position of bringing it back next year, which I hear some members are requesting. So, if you could fill out your voting paper, there will be a box coming along that you can put the paper in. Sorry, that has taken me away from the thing that needs to happen before your vote, is I need to make this proposal. This is what you're voting on. That the Articles of Association, in the form that were attached to the notice, and that was that email that came out, for this AGM, will be adopted as our new Articles of Association for the company. And I am looking for somebody who will second that proposal. Thank you. And the count of votes, once they're in the box, they will be taken off by our operations team, and to ensure they're counted fairly, 2 members have been asked to oversee that operation. and the votes will be brought back, the results of the vote will be brought back to this AGM before the AGM closes. So we're going to carry on while you're doing that, because I do like some rigorous timekeeping, and I made time for more questions there than planned. I'm going to carry on with the AGM. So we come to item 5. And I assumed before coming, can I have your attention please so that we can move on with the agenda? Thank you. And I think this is going to be a hot topic of conversation perhaps in pockets across the day. And I'm really happy to carry on the conversation with people. And myself or other directors or Rob can answer questions about this throughout the day. But we've actually got quite a lot of business in this AGM. And you've got seminars and exhibition stands and things. So I'm keen to move on. So I had assumed that voting members would have also read the minutes from the AGM last year that were also in that pack. And I had assumed that people would come to this meeting having looked at those and be prepared to vote on those. We're now in the territory of our ordinary resolutions, so the things we vote on every year at this AGM. So I'm taking that as a given, although I'm now suspicious that it might not be so. Perhaps people haven't received that, they haven't chased it up if they haven't received it, or if they couldn't open it. But I am still going to look for somebody in the audience who will propose that we accept the motion that these minutes are an accurate record of the meeting, the AGM in 2024. Do I have anybody who'll propose that? Yeah, thank you. Over there. Do I have anybody who'll second it? Thank you. And can I have a show of hands for anybody who is abstaining, please? If you haven't seen them, you might well choose to abstain. Thank you. Okay. And anybody who is against? And anybody for? Do you have that, Lisa? Thank you. That was very clearly carried. Okay, this now actually is my favourite bit of the AGM, which is getting to share with you my highlights for the skydiving year that's just gone, skydiving year of 2024. So we're going to take a moment to reflect on what we've achieved across this year.
There's only embers left in what was a fire, and all the loneliness. The only way it's gonna end is when I can see you again down. I need something better to do than spending hours thinking of you. Don't like who I am on my own, and why does it feel like time's moving slow? No, this won't last forever, I know. Lately it's been hitting me.
I want that medal. Got the flag out. Here we go. Bombs away.
I don't know about you, but I think that's a lovely reminder of why we're actually all here. And it is that joy of skydiving, the thing that actually ties us all together. But as we know, and as we've actually just seen, it takes a lot of hard grind and a lot of hard work to ensure that we can all enjoy that freedom of the skies in the way that we do as skydivers. And so for the rest of my review of 2024, I'm going to share some insight into that more mundane hard work aspects of what your board of directors has been doing and the things that we've achieved over the course of 2024 to ensure that we can all keep jumping and we can all keep this sport moving forward and have that kind of fun that we do. So this time last year, I stood up here and I very confidently said to you, these are the three things. These are the three things that we are prioritising, and we are going to work on these across 2024. So, time for me to be held to account. How have we done on these? Let's start with the very pressing one of strengthening that relationship between British Skydiving and our drop zone operators. A real key topic when I stood up here last year. Something that absolutely needed addressing. Many of you will know that we have a drop zone operators special interest group, our DZO SIG. And that generally had been meeting once a year as part of this expo event. And that had been that sort of point of contact between British Skydiving and the DZOs as a group. You have to excuse me, I use a lot of acronyms with British Skydiving stuff. But that relationship had become strained and it needed strengthening as an absolute priority because we are all operating in a very changeable landscape, and that pace of change is increasing phenomenally year on year. So last January, Rob and I used that meeting as an opportunity for a bit of a scoping session with our DZOs. And that was quite a painful session, but it needed to happen. And we introduced some ideas for how we felt that we could possibly move forward in that relationship building. And some common ground was found in that meeting around the need for a more open and consistent means of communication between British Skydiving and drop zone operators. And one of the drop zone operators present suggested that we start with a group chat function, and that kind of evolved into, yes, we could do that. And we could have monthly Teams meetings just to keep that conversation rolling. And I'm so pleased to be able to stand up here and say that that has happened across this year. And there were a series of 10 meetings across 2024, which is a real strengthening of that one annual meeting previously. And that covered some really difficult topics, some hot topics for this particular interest group. So that covered things like insurance, the tandem medical form, so much work around the tandem medical form, DBS requirements, employment legislation. So these are conversations that are starting to emerge with DZOs and British Skydiving. And we haven't made all the progress that we would have liked to have done in an ideal scenario, but there certainly has been progress. And when I thought about how can I communicate that progress to members in like a sound bite that I get in this slot, and I thought I'd share these three statements that came from DZOs that have been part of this. And I have to caveat that by saying these are comments from DZOs who are certainly not shy of constructive criticism of British Skydiving. I was not cherry picking the drop zones that are kind of always on board here. So I hope this indicates that actually we haven't solved everything, and we probably never will. It's going to be an ongoing thing, but definitely there have been huge strides on this. Okay, so the next of those three, another hot topic, reviewing the Safety and Training Committee. This has actually been on the table since 2016, since that last write of the Articles of Association, since the previous independent board review. So 2023, it was picked up at the end of that year as an absolute priority task. British Skydiving's safety training and competitions team were tasked with some initial research, with doing some consultation with getting out there, putting surveys out to the key stakeholders in this, and coming back to the board with some recommendations and findings. And they managed to do that. In November 2024, they came back with a plan. Given the changing needs of the sport, of the association, and of our affiliated PTOs, it's inevitable that they identified several areas for improvement. So in light of that, they made a recommendation, which is loosely what you can see here. I know it's a bit of a clunky slide. Nobody likes a lot of writing on a slide, but it's the best I could do to capture this, to put it to you. The board agreed the recommendation in principle. And this, I think, is a good demonstration of where that accountability of the board is, where the board's role is. It wasn't the board's role to decide what the shape of STC should be. It's the board's role to say, yes, the people doing that piece of work have done it well, and we will sign off their recommendations. But the board did say, no, you cannot launch that for 2025. There is too much work still to be done to make sure all this can be delivered. That you will not get that in place for 2025, particularly given that we actually set up all of our committees later on today. That would have been unfeasible. So the board very sensibly said, great plan, go away, you've got a year to do the work, and we will be looking at implementing changes ready for 2026. So I think that's a really good demonstration for you of how the committees and the board work together to make sure that the best is delivered for all of our stakeholders, that everything is done properly for our members and our DZOs. And there is more work to be done on this. So in short, you'll see we're talking about a reduction in size. At the moment, we've got a committee of 32 members. Anybody who has done any committee work will know that is an unfeasible size for a committee, particularly when it's safety critical decisions that they're making. It needs to be an effective committee. It needs to have the right expertise around the table. At the moment, for those 32 members of STC, many of them never attend a meeting. So there are things to improve there. So we're looking at scaling down the committee, but making it more effective. It will absolutely keep hold of the expertise of British Skydiving's technical staff and CIs. Absolutely central that the people who are at the coalface of delivering the ops manual are there, sharing their expertise. But it will also bring in other expert voices to actually be a voting part of STC, which isn't what we have at the moment. So riggers, examiners, medical experts, advanced instructors, instructor examiners will be represented on this committee, is the plan that is there at the moment. How that happens, that's the bits that needs working out. How do we make sure that the right voices from those different groups are represented on this committee? So yes, we've made some significant progress. Another one where there's still work to be done. And these changes will flow down to the riggers subcommittee, which will also see a similar reduction in the voting members. When riggers were consulted, this was something that they had a real push for, to shrink the committee with a focus on making sure the right expertise is around the table when it's required. So that is my very quick insight into that particular piece of work. And again, myself, any other directors, Rob, will be really happy to talk about that more if you grab us after the AGM. But I want to skip on to the third piece. And Steve, I was really interested in your question. You were talking about governance and that sort of being bound by governance, and this really taps into that. The board actually takes governance really seriously because we have to. It's part of our remit as a board. We are required to make sure that it is run as effectively as possible, that we follow good practice. If not, we could be held accountable in all sorts of ways for that. We take that responsibility as your board. to make sure that everything follows good governance practice. And there are lots of recommendations on that. Sport England is one of the bodies that issues good governance guidance for NGBs like ourselves, and we follow that. And part of that is that we have had an independent review of the way the board works in 2023 for that kind of sense and holding us to accountability and making sure that we are running things properly. That review came back with 16 recommendations for things that we could improve. And that included things like bringing in some board succession planning. So looking at what skills are we going to need going forward and where have we got those already amongst our directors, and where do we see gaps coming up in the next few years, and how do we make sure we fill those gaps? Things like improving our risk strategies and ensuring that our operations team has a robust business continuity plan. You know, these are really good things. We should have these. So we went through these 16 recommendations and we said yes to all of them. But it's a huge piece of work for a board of 12 to manage all of this. And I am really happy to say we've made really good strides across 2024. 12 of these, hope my illustration communicates this, 12 of these we've actually completed. Depending on how this vote goes today, it might be 13 and a half, it might not, it might be 12. But accomplishing 12 of these across a year for a board like ours has actually been a really significant accomplishment. The ones that are still outstanding, I think, are quite self-explanatory to some extent. So just reviewing and updating all of our role descriptions. Yes, of course, we need to keep them tightening up. We need to be really clear about what's expected from your directors and what this process is for becoming a director, what your commitment is as a director. And we've looked at that across all of our committee role descriptions and our sort of key volunteer role descriptions. So it's all about tightening up and improving transparency in a lot of this. In terms of reviewing and revising the electoral process for NEDs and INEDs and looking at that clarity, that is part of that change to the nominations committee. We want the nominations committee to be able to take more of a lead in identifying the key attributes that a NED will need so that can be put into the advertising for the role. When we're trying to get you to step forward for a role, that we can say, these are the skills we need. At the moment, we don't have anybody who has responsibility for that within the association. So we need to sit that responsibility somewhere. And it seems to sit really well with the nominations committee because they are that little group that is tasked with keeping an eye on those things. Number 5 there, that is another part that you have just voted on today. So one part of that is revising that board appointments process and the balance between NEDs and INEDs. And the other part of that will be looking at how do we best recruit people from skydiving? Is the nominations process that we've currently got where sometimes people put their hat in the ring and they go straight into a role, and sometimes it's you then got to go to a vote and people who probably would be really good candidates don't get a seat. We've been looking at that. That would be a very big change. What we've been looking at is moving that to a system that will allow us to get those key skills and expertise around the board table. And we're working on revising that, and we recognise that it would be a really significant change. I think we've had a really good demonstration of that already this morning, that we've got such a passionate, invested membership, we have to take these things carefully. So although we've done a lot of work on that, We know that it needs very careful handling and just making sure that we maintain transparency and that we have a really robust system in place before we bring it to you for a vote. So we've actually given ourselves an extra year for that half of the 5th recommendation there, and we are intending to bring that back to you for a vote next year. So giving you a whole year's heads up now on a potential change next year, which I think is quite exciting. But yeah, another really big change. So those 3 things that I stood up here and said, these are the targets, definitely some progress. But let's move on from what the board's done and have a look at the achievements of 2024 in wider terms. It was a really busy year. There was lots of progression, lots of achievement overseen by the various committees of the board. It is the committees that organise these things, that take responsibility for running courses, running development events, running competitions. And across 2024, we saw all sorts of ratings gained, fantastic competitions, lots of development events. 6 development events were funded across the year, across lots of different disciplines, different drop zones. So really exciting. There was a lot of record-breaking action by our members. I love being part of a sport where people are constantly pushing at the edges and seeing what is possible. Really great to see, for me, that pushing at the edges happening across so many different disciplines. New records set in speed, in sport accuracy, in large formation FS, canopy formation 2-way, canopy formation 4-way sequential, 4-way FS, wingsuit acrobatics. People are pushing at the edges all over this sport. It really is fantastic to see that it's not a static sport. This is growing, this is changing all the time. Records in VFS. And so exciting to see one of the more unusual categories in there as well. I think people often forget you can set records in other categories as well. You don't just have to be a competitor. So the most skydives in one day. That was a huge team effort. Really fantastic to see our members doing this stuff. So that's a total of 15 British records broken. Just well done to all. Please join me in congratulating everyone. So there's a lot of international record breaking too that our members were part of. I'm not going to go through a list of those, but I do have one that I want to highlight because this isn't just about breaking a record in one year. This for me really says so much about British Skydiving as members, who we are, what we do, what drives us. And it's the fact that the Jump for the Cause was the recipient for the Path of Excellence Award by the International Skydiving Museum and Hall of Fame, which is an organisation that British Skydiving affiliates to. We have an affiliation with this organisation. And in this award recognises entities that have made really significant contributions of enduring high value to the world of skydiving since 1980s. It's a huge award. And over the course of 2 decades, the women that have been part of Jump for the Cause have earned not 1, but 4 FAI-rated women's world records. The last of those was in 2019 when women from 31 countries built a record 181-way. And to date, that is still the largest all-women formation record skydive on record. And collectively, the women who have been involved in Jump for the Cause have raised more than £2 million for breast cancer support and research. And together, across those records set, 33 British women were part of those records. And I think that is incredible for us. As we, in global terms, we're a small membership organisation. 33 of our women have been named in this really prestigious award. So can we give them a round of applause as well, please? Okay, I'm going to jump from those highlights to just every year, sadly, our British skydiving community says goodbye to so many members and ex-members. So in 2024, we lost a good many members and ex-members, and that was Nathan Harrison, Chris Lynch, Kevin Dakin, Roy Bannerman, Michael Wilson-Roberts, Dirk Merman, Chris Oakley, Mike Cyril Knowles, Jeff Chandler, Amanda Kenny, Sam Cornwall, Will Humphreys, Adrian Bennett, Major Barry Andrews, David T. Hickling, Bill Baynon, John Partington Smith, Joseph Redmond, James Allen, Ashley Dando, Chris Good, John Hampshire, John Fisher, Georgie Lang, Brian Fosby, Gordon Page and Barry Smith. I ask you all, whether sitting or standing, to join me as you are able for a minute's silence and remembrance of these members and ex-members who are no longer with us. So I'm just going to very quickly talk to you about 2025. Set myself up for what I'll be standing up here next year saying what we did over the year. In terms of things that we can do, sorting out the weather, which probably is the one thing we all really want, is not something your board is able to do. We just have to keep hopeful on that one. In terms of things we can do, our focus is very much on making sure that British skydiving's modus operandi is robust in meeting the demands of a changing world, and a world which includes such a range of skydiving operations and processes and opportunities, many of which weren't even imagined when the association was set up. For the board, this focus is always channelled on our strategic plan. That's what sort of shapes the parameters for the board's work. And we're at the midpoint of that strategic plan, so we will be reviewing the strategic plan as we go through 2025. Other than that, I think you've seen through this AGM that actually we're partway through, we're halfway through some really big, ambitious changes that really are about shaping the association to make sure that it is robust going forward, that we do keep up with those demands that are coming our way in the near future, as well as the ones that are sort of pressing up against us now. There are legislative pressures, there are new regulations, but there are new opportunities too, and we want to be able to make the most of them. So this year is going to be very much about finishing and embedding the projects that we started at the beginning of this 5-year strategic plan. So not only the ones that I've just shared with you here that we're still working on, but things like the Sky Vault platform that is now, it's in process, but we need to make sure it's properly embedded rather than rushing on to another project. Our new comms team, many of you won't be aware, but the association recognises the need for better communication. So Rob has just recruited a new communications team, but they actually came in place in December and January. So we're still finding their feet. They need time to get embedded. So this year is going to be very much kind of, let's really drive the projects we're already working on. Let's review the strategic plan. So my way of summarising that for you is that across 2025, the priorities are going to be to keep learning and to keep listening. I think listening, and again, I've had such a good demonstration of it this morning, that we have really engaged members who have a lot to say and a lot to contribute, and we need to build that consultation. We need to build the listening. I think a really sort of easy example of that is the listening around the MAG. I'm sure, like me, you've all seen the very regular posts about bring back the MAG. Yeah, we've all seen them, and we are listening to them. We're seeing them there, but actually, how do we build that listening? It's all very well looking at something on a social media post, but that doesn't give you a real sense of what's going on. The MAG now has been in digital form for long enough for us all to have sense of how we use it, what it means for us. So, maybe this is time for more consultation, another survey on that, and a review of that. This year will give us opportunity to look at some, they're not great grand projects, but they're things that we need to do. So building that listening, I think, is a key thing. And part of that is having the new comms team in place and them sort of developing new strategies for communications across the year. The Skydiving project is another one where we have had such a fantastic response to the consultation for that. Really unprecedented for an NGB like this to have so much member buy-in. So we need to look at how do we keep that going? How do we capture that? Lots of change across the year. My summary that is the keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing. We have to do something that means that our membership keeps growing, which is a bit of a sticking point for us at the moment. And we need to make sure that everything we do matches up with our resource that is available to us. We are a small NGB. I am going to end item 6 there. I'm going to hand over to Richard Lockwood, who I've already introduced as one of our independent non-executive directors, and he is going to head up agenda items 7 and 8.
Thank you, Mary. So I would just quickly add that even though I'm an INED, I do have 35 years of experience in finance. That is not to say that I'm sure there are people in this room with a lot of experience in finance. So I'm always happy to take questions outside with anyone who wants to go through any of the detail. And proof of the talent that's in this room, before I actually start with item 7, I wanted to say a really big personal thank you to someone, and that person is Tash, for all of her work as treasurer. She's sitting over there on the side. I think everyone in this room will know that one of the key skills that we should all have as individuals is to be able to recognise people with both commitment and ability. And it's been abundantly clear to me, as Tash has given me all the time I've needed, and so on, that Tash has got both ability and commitment in spades. So I know you just clapped then, but I would just ask you to clap once more for Tash, because I think she's been brilliant. So I think this item should be hopefully relatively straightforward. So I am going to move straight to the proposal, which is that I'm going to ask you all, the AGM, to approve the annual report and accounts for the year ended 30th of June 2023, and that's under Articles 7.2.1 and 7.2.2. So first of all, would someone please help me propose this? Can't see anyone. Oh, yeah, thank you. Anyone prepared to second? Brilliant, thank you. So, can I have anyone who wants to abstain? Yeah. Anyone who is against? And anyone who is for? Thank you. I think we've got that one. My next item is item 8. So this is a really important item, actually. We've been talking about governance and the importance of governance. The auditors who audit the accounts of British Skydiving actually act effectively on your behalf. And so although the directors and the staff at British Skydiving suggest which firm of auditors we should use, it is ultimately up to you to agree and decide whether or not we should continue with these auditors. So Tash as Treasurer for this year and myself as the replacement Chair of the Finance Committee, we've sat through the clearance meetings with Rowley's, and I personally am happy that this item is brought forward. So again, this is to reappoint Rowley's as the auditors and to authorise the council to obviously pay them for the following year of our activity. This is under Article 7.25. So, again, I'd ask if anyone would help propose this motion. Thank you. Anyone prepared to second it? Thank you. And therefore, I'd now like to move to see whether there's anyone who wants to abstain. Yep. Anyone who is against? And anyone who is for the proposal? Thank you very much. I think we have that one too. Right, before I hand on, in prior years, Tash as Treasurer would have come to you all and proposed the change in membership fees. There is a change that we're implementing this year, which is the work that gets done to do that is going to be within the management team, within Rob's team. And it is completely right that therefore as Rob, as your CEO, therefore talks you through the proposal for the membership fee. So I'm going to hand over to Rob.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I've got the good news to give. These are the proposed membership fees for the forthcoming membership year 2025-2026. As a reminder, the membership fee is made up of two elements. There's an insurance element and there's a British Skydiving element. What we propose is an increase to the British membership fee of 5.7%, which results in £1.98 increase for a student provisional. I'm going to come to the temporary one in a minute, and for a full membership, £10.69. Now you'll see in the temporary it's minus 4 pence, but that's because we've been doing some due diligence and we do not need to incur any VAT on the temporary memberships. And as VAT is at 20%, it's actually had a reduction as a result of that. Granted, it is an increase, but we feel that this increase is an important investment into the association going forwards, and I believe that we have a good opportunity to realise some of the strategic objectives that Mary alluded to in her slide before. So, Mary, over to you. Thank you.
So as Chair, I'm just going to field the vote for this one. So, do I have anybody?
Question that figure, sorry. Last year was £145.57, I believe. This year's 156.26. That's not 5 points, that's 7.3% increase. 7.34, I think.
Do you want to fill that one very quickly?
Yeah, so the insurance element has gone up by 10%. So the actual change is included in the total amount. And the 5.7% is an increase on the British Skydiving element.
Thanks, that's clear.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm really aware we're really running over for this item, for the AGM item. So in the interest of moving on with our business, if I could have anybody who's willing to propose that we accept this. Thank you. Anybody who's willing to second that proposal? Thank you. Anybody who's abstaining? Thank you. Anybody who is voting against? Okay. Yep. And anybody voting for? Thank you. Thank you. That's carried. Okay, so 2 more items to go. Thank you for bearing with us. I know it's been a bit longer than expected. Before moving on to item 10, which is welcoming our new non-executive directors, I just invite you to say thank you with a round of applause for our outgoing non-executive directors. This is a very peculiar year for the board. We are losing so much expertise, so much historical knowledge on the board with the members that are at the end of their term this year, so cannot stand again to serve longer. And that is Adrian Bond, Mark Bayarder, Tash Higman, Rebecca Bradley and Stevie Flanagan. As I say, all their terms come to an end at the close of this AGM. Please join me in saying thank you for all they've done. So joining the board, we had 7 seats available because we have so many members at the end of term, which is largely to do with us having casual vacancies, which can only be filled for a year, so it has this kind of cumulative effect. We had 7 seats available, but only 2 members stepped forward for that open nomination process. So please, and that was Tony Crilly and Rumi Roundachiva. Please welcome them as your new directors. Interestingly, they're both actually currently serving on the board, because in 2024, when we had casual vacancies came up, when people stepped down from the board, Rumi and Tony stepped in and took up those casual vacancies. They have had a good experience being directors, and they really see how they can give back to the sport and how valuable it is. They put their hats in the ring again, and they're now with us for 3 years. So that's fantastic, a bit of stability. It does mean we've still got 5 empty seats as we come into this year. We have had a round of recruitment. We have had some applicants, and we will be making announcements around that shortly. But it is a sort of a key piece of work for the board, is how do we get more stability in what we're doing, and the importance of the work of the board. So I do invite all of you as members to look at what the board does and think about how you might contribute, or whether you might contribute to one of our committees as a volunteer. Tony Crilly actually started off volunteering with one of our committees, and has sort of grown his relationship with the board in the same way. It's the same way I came in to being a director, was I was a discipline rep, as it used to be called then sat on a committee, then was part of the board. So do give it some thought. The board needs you, and I think we've covered that so much at the start of this AGM today. The board really needs its members. Last item is another one for a vote for you. And this comes back to that selection of INEDs. But before introducing you to the new INED that we're proposing to you, I'd like you to all join me in saying thank you to our outgoing INED, who's Rob Hartley, who's not here today. He's given 4 years of dedicated service to the association, and we have all benefited from his expertise in so many ways, more ways than I've got time to list here. But probably most notably has been his invaluable support for that governance transition for the association, to make sure we have the right expertise and insight in that area. So please join me in a round of applause as a thank you to Rob Hartley. And that leads me on to introducing you to the candidate that we are recommending to you as our new INED. We had a really good range of candidates. This goes out to recruitment, as I explained earlier. We get applicants. It's like a job role, but without any payment. And from that process, the nominations committee recommended Lauren Durkin to the board. The board agreed that that is a very good choice, that Lauren actually brings that essential expertise in sports governance that we need around the board table. So the board agreed with the recommendation, and the board is very pleased to be able to recommend Lauren to you for appointment to this INED role. So do we have somebody who will propose that this recommendation is accepted? Thank you. Lots of hands up there. That's great. Do we have anybody who will second that proposal? Thank you. Anybody abstaining? Any votes against? Any votes for? We don't need a count on that one, do we? A moment of tension there for Lauren, who is sitting in the audience while you all voted. Please welcome Lauren. Lauren's joined us today not just to sit in here and see if she was voted into the role, but so she can spend a bit of time with you as members. Lauren, as this indicates, has a strong sporting background herself, and is really keen to learn more about this association and have conversations with members today. So thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the agenda and the close of the formal proceedings of the AGM. And for the minutes, I note that the time is 11:32. Of course, yeah. Actually, before we close, yeah, Rob is going to share the details of the special resolution with me. Does that include the proxy votes?
Yes, that's all.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the results of the special resolution, we had a total of 350 votes. We had 9 spoilt voting papers, which was 2.5%. I should say this includes our proxy votes as well. We had a total of 70 abstaining, which was 20%. We had a total of 105 voting for, which was 30%. And we had a total of 166 voting against, which means the motion was not carried. Thank you. Okay, with that, I close the AGM, and for the minutes I note, the time is 11:33. Thank you for bearing with the overrun, and I'm sure you'll appreciate it was opening up to a bit of a discussion around this matter at the beginning of the session. So after a very quick reshuffle between myself and some of the team, we're going to move straight into presenting an array of awards, certificates, trophies and medals. It'll probably take us 5 minutes for a quick shuffle if anybody needs a quick comfort break. Okay, can I ask you all to take your seats, please, so we can start the presentations for this morning. Thank you. I know we've overrun considerably, and I know there'll be seminars starting, and I don't want to rush our champions and awardees for this morning, because they are amazing. So, I mentioned this morning that we've separated out some of the awards, and there will be highlight awards given at our gala dinner this evening. One of the awards that we would have taken into the evening, because it's one of our really significant awards, they're all significant, this is one of the sort of the big awards, is our Instructor of the Year award. So this prestigious award, the recipient can't be with us this evening, so we're going to award it here. The Instructor of the Year award is selected, the nominees are selected by our Head of Safety Training and Competitions, together with our Safety and Training Officers. And this award is sponsored by Vigil this year, and is given to an instructor who has gained their instructor rating within the past 12 months. The criteria for selection is that the instructor's performance during their course, and also their ability to be the type of instructor that students would feel comfortable turning to for advice. And this particular candidate was very well presented on the course. The nominator says, while they did not initially stand out in terms of their abilities, their enthusiasm for taking on feedback and their continuous development throughout the whole course was remarkable. At the end of the process, they'd become an excellent example of a category system instructor, ready to take on the real-world experiences and be a fantastic credit to their PTO. I'm delighted to announce that the Head of Safety Training and Competitions, alongside the Safety and Training Officers, has selected Jasper Pyer from Skydive Langer. Yeah, if you go off that side for a photograph.
Sorry, I wouldn't have sat all the way up there if I knew that.
We appreciate a dramatic run for the stage, don't we? So we all know there are many examples of fantastic service within our sport, and we believe in shining a light on that. And that's why we ask all our members, A licence holders and above, to tell us about great service they've received from a British Skydiving affiliated parachute training organisation or from another British Skydiving member, and to tell us if they've spotted a British Skydiving star. Each eligible nomination is considered by British Skydiving's vice presidents, and I'm very pleased to announce that they have selected an excellent British Skydiving star for us to celebrate this year. Unfortunately, they can't be with us, but I'm going to read out their citation because I think it speaks volumes about our membership. So Tano Parker nominated a friend of his, and he told us in that nomination, "I started skydiving 3 years ago, and this is when I met Phil. Tano says, since then, Phil has helped me with all my skydiving admin that I'm very bad at. and jumped with me countless times to help me progress in the sport. Phil has been a huge help to me and many other jumpers in the sport. He sets up small coaching events to help progress people's level. To note, he does this at his own cost as well. Every jump he does, he pays for. He doesn't demand a coaching rate, but a crisp beer is always welcome. And always gives people all of his skydiving knowledge. He's always happy to help anyone on the DZ with anything at all, whether that's with their paperwork, questions about skydiving, or kit hire. He's always there to help. He's always been a person I have looked up to so much in recent years.
100%. 100% to that. To that what you said.
Yeah. He has been a person I've looked up to so much in recent years, and I hope in the future I can be half as incredible as he has been in giving back to the sport. And this is, of course, why Phil Curtis is a shining example of a British skydiving member. Yeah, as I say, he can't join us here today, but we can give him another round of applause. So I'm going to move us on to our National Judges Certificates. It's a great pleasure to award National Judges Certificates to 4 members who've qualified in 2024 as British skydiving judges. These members, I think if you're not a competitor, you might not appreciate just how much exceptional dedication our judges give to this sport, and making it possible for competitors to push ourselves, whether it is at rookie level or sort of top of elite performance, for people to not only push themselves but experience that joy of competition. We couldn't do it without judges giving us our scores, making sure that our scores are reliable and consistent. So we have Andrea Bellamy, who has qualified as a formation skydiving and a VFS judge in 2024. We have Sharon Lung, who has qualified in formation skydiving and VFS in 2024. You are a very good helper. Thank you, Trudy. And we have Hannah Williams, who was also qualified. Well done, Hannah. And Mike Williams, who was qualified as an accuracy judge. This is quite impressive. Mike is already a wingsuit judge, so this just adds another skill and another way that he's giving back to members. Oh, well done, Mike. We've also seen one of our members achieve an FAI Judges Certificate this year, which not only continues that giving back to our members, but it means that they're out there representing British skydiving at an international level and bringing that level of expertise back into our judging pool and sharing that with our members. So Marco Bulmer Ritzi, congratulations. done, Marco. We have 2 certificates to award for jump numbers and free fall. These certificates always blow my mind, just the amount of jumping that some of our members do. So our first of those goes to Jeff McVeigh, who has a very impressive 6,000 jumps, but 84 hours in free fall. Jeff has been skydiving for over 30 years and has over 1,000 helicopter jumps. He's completed considerable amount of parachute displays and is a skydiving world record holder. And he's currently a tandem instructor with over 1,700 tandem descents, and his home drop zone is Skydive Hibblestone. Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, so our second certificate goes to Stuart Meacock for 20,000 jumps. Stuart made his first jump nearly 40 years ago, and he won his first national championship in style and accuracy at the age of 17. He's also been a national champion in 7 other disciplines and has taken part in 8 world-class events, including 4-way, 8-way, freestyle and canopy piloting. Stuart has been an advanced instructor for 20 years and chief instructor at Skydive Hinton for 15 of those. So please welcome Stuart Meacock to the stage. Congratulations, that's impressive. So you're now going to have a break from my voice. I'm going to hand over the podium to Ryan, one of our 2 safety and training officers, for the awarding of medals for our overall champions.
Lovely, thank you, Mary. Good afternoon. Right, so this new award, which has been commissioned in memory of Staff Sergeant Chris Good, who sadly passed away last year in a tragic skydiving accident in South Africa whilst representing Team Great Britain at the 10th FAI World Canopy Piloting Championships. This new award will be presented to every subsequent national champion in canopy piloting freestyle. The recipient of the Chris Good Memorial Sword for CP Freestyle is posthumously awarded to Chris Good as the current 2024 national champion. To receive this award and representing his memory here today is Chris's son, Jamie Good. Please join me in welcoming Jamie to the stage. As well as the Chris Good Memorial Sword for CP Freestyle, the Army Adventurous Training Wing, Netheravon, would also like to present Jamie Good with a framed picture of Chris jumping over the island of Cyprus. To present this picture, and on behalf of the staff at Army Adventurous Training Air Wing Netheravon, is their Officer Commanding Major Ian Wicks. come and shake your hand. You're right with that. It's that one, isn't it? Cool. Right, moving on. Now we're getting to the 2024 Grand Prix overall medalists, accuracy landings champion. Number 1, sports accuracy landings junior class, Mr. Michael Simpson. Michael was, sorry, carry on. Michael had a long journey to make, so he actually picked up his medal earlier this morning. But let's give him a clap anyway, right? Right, sport accuracy landings intermediate class, Travis Copeland. Is he here? Is he here? He's in Tenerife. Oh, thank you. Right, sport accuracy landing senior class, Nathan Lewington. He's not here either. Is anyone a friend of Nathan's here?
If there are friends of people here, you can always come after the ceremony and let the staff here know that you can pick something up.
His head called Mary, so you could take it.
I'll take it then.
Right. Also, accuracy landings senior class, Les Carroll. If you stick around a minute. Yeah, there's more. Right, so Jeff Chandler, a keen skydiver known to many, especially in the pops and accuracy community, is remembered through the introduction of a new accuracy overall award, engraved with the British Parachute Association logo, as designed by Jeff himself. This will be presented to every subsequent overall champion in classic accuracy. And for 2024, we are pleased to award it to Les Carroll as the Accuracy Landings Senior Overall Award winner. Right, so canopy formation, two-way sequential. Two-way sequential rookie class, overall champions. Team Flying Scotsman. Oh, sorry, I got it, thank you. So Team Flying Scotsman, which is Ian Hull, Peter Hughes, and Andy Bates. All right, next up, two-way sequential intermediate class overall champions. Team Corkscrew with Johnny Bellamy, Tomas Baldazar, Mark Stevenson, and Richard Dixon. Woohoo! Congratulations, mate. Well done. Brilliant. Well done, mate. Okay, I've got to be real careful with some of these names coming up. If I say them too fast, they could be rude. All right. So, this one isn't too bad actually. Right. So two-way sequential senior class overall champions, Team Crewcumber Sandwiches, with Matt Cunning, Matt Knight, and Michael Swan. Right, next up, canopy formations, four-way sequential and rotations. Four-way sequential overall champions, and this one I do have to be careful with, Team Thick Socks, Big Docks. And that's Joshua Carrott, Matt Cumming, Kaylee Garbett, Gary Wainwright, and Sam Hayes. Right, four-way rotations, overall champions. Team Kark Rash with Andrew Bates, Kamikaze, of course it is, Kamikaze Kevin Cassidy, close, Richard Dixon, Nigel Hodgkinson, and Peter Hughes, and Mike Carruthers. Congratulations, well done. Thank you. Brilliant. Well done to you. Thank you. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Right, formation skydiving overall. Formation skydiving four-way rookie class. The four-way rookie bronze medalist winners. Team Fall Fast, Finish Last. With Tom Fagan, Matt Oldham, Pete Richardson, Gabrielle Rook, and Nigel Rowland. Oh, sorry, thank you. Congratulations, mate. Well done. Well done. Thank you, man. Yeah, well done.
I'm just going to pause for a minute.
Yeah,
Ryan.
sure.
I feel you probably see me and Ryan being a bit clunky with our slides. I feel I should let you know that Ryan stepped into doing this morning because Jeff Montgomery was going to do this and he sent his apologies. He's ill and unable to do it. So Ryan is actually stepped in at the last minute.
Thank you very much. Right, so four-way rookie silver medalist winners, Team Knots Noodles with Matt Baldwin, Amelia Cameron, Dominic Kelsey, and Kirsty Tidmus, and Abigail Virgo.
Medals for you, please take one. There you go.
No worries.
Okay, quite nice. Good to see you all here.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, four-way rookie overall champions gold medal. We have a joint gold medal actually with this one. This is another one I've got to be careful with here. Team Suckling Lamb's Gizzards. With Peter Bailio, Vila Blazer-Coots, Peter Brown, Adam Gray, Sharon Lung, and Eon Black.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Well done. Good job.
Hey, if you want to come this one.
Are you taking this?
No worries, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Put that on you. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
No worries.
That's a lot, mate.
Right, I did say this is a joint gold medal, so we've also got Team XL Poo. With Callum Ardis, Sarah Curran, Stevie Flanagan, Andy Milner-Jones, and Elliot Everson. Yeah, excellent work. Well done,
All
man.
right, then. Thank you.
I'm loving Stevie's hat too. I'm going to make a jumpsuit with that material. It looks awesome. Right, moving on. Formation class, single A class. So this is the bronze medal. We have Team Tilstock V3 with, let's do that one, with Laura Dixon Crilly, Tony Crilly, Helen Taylor, Matt Wilcott, and Gary Winden.
Well done.
Thanks a lot.
I like this one. No medal.
Well done, Gary.
Oh, I can't help it. I was born this way.
Where's my medal?
Where's your medal?
Where's my medal? What's going on?
Right, four-way single A class, silver medalist winners, Booty Cool, with Fran Bolek, Liam Flavin, Andrew Newby, Tim Scrass, and Lazar Suma, and Ross Walker.
Okay, congratulations. Is one of you taking the extras?
Everybody will take two.
Okay, all right. 2 medals for you, Ross. Always thought of you as a 2-medal kind of person.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Yes, well done. Right, moving on. Single A class overall champions. Gold medal, University of Fork. With Peter Angeli, Emily Brown, Sam Etchells, Owen Stedman, and Charlie Thacker.
There you go. You get to take them all. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Well done. Right, moving on, we're getting into the AA class now. So this is the bronze medalist winners. Team Equinox, Katie Bolmer, Peter Gradsky, Karina Hankin, Adam Lockwood, Ross Marlowe, and Fabrizio Colonna. I think I got those names all right. And from AA class silver medalist winners, Team Sesquipedalian, with Alistair Bould, Peter Donald, Linda Gallagher, Duncan Hayes, and James Johnson. Okay. Right, for the AA class gold medal, Children of the Corn, with Michael Benson, Lee Clift, Joseph Connolly, Felipe de Arc, and Cara Pritchard.
I feel like I should be bowing to you.
Thank you.
You to take two, but I want a handshake.
Cheers, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're getting into the AAA class. So bronze medal winners, Team Winged Hussars. With Jarek Bolek, Marcia Sobczak, Violetta Strandvikad, Strandgeta, Camille Tara, and Michael Strandgeta.
Hey. Oh, that is a big one. Oh, it's going to happen at some point. Well done. Congratulations. And one for you.
Well done, thank you. Congratulations. Okay, so AAA silver medalist winners, Team Axis. Vince Adams, Bill Kane, Ming Chu, Dave Curtin, Jim Parsons, and Kate Lindsley. Nice one, thank you. Well done, man. So four-way AAA class gold medals, Team British Army Voltage, with Ezra Atwood, Stacey Briggs, Amy Calloway, Say Hughes, Cy Donnelly, and Jay Webster. Nice objectives, yeah. Cheers. Nice one, sir. Well done. Right, moving on. So that's all the awards given out now. So we've got a packed day, lots of different talks, fantastic presentations that are going ahead today. So hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and I look forward to seeing you later in the bar as well. Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.